Të dashur teleshikues të televizionit të shqiptarëve të Amerikës, në emisionin Argument sot kam ftuar një kandidat për në politikën e madhe amerikane, tashmë Vedat Gashi nga politika lokale, po kërkon të kapërcej një hap më tej për të hyrë në luftën politike në kuadër Partisë Demokrate për të qenë antar i Kongresit Amerikan. Pikërisht për të pyetur për fushatën e tij, për mbarvajtjen, për motivet që e shtyn, ne e ftuam zotin Vedat Gashi në një intervistë të shkurtër via Skype. Vedat, welcome to the Albanian TV. It's a great pleasure for us that we heard that from your position in the county of Westchester, now your ambitions to be involved in the great American politics and in right in the Congress, right with Democrat Party, right engel to get back, let's say, to Albanians the post that Eliot Engel kept for a long time as head and of the caucus of the Albanian questions. Now, you have been involved in the local elections for the county of Westchester and Yonkers recently, and why you wanted to take another step to be involved in the Congress?
Para se fillojmë, do veçtash më tonë faleminderit shumë për ftesën. Vjen shumë mirë edhe nëse më lejoni anglisht me ja përgjigjen se pak më lehtë kam I'm living in Kosovo, but in America, and my English is a lot better, so if you'll excuse me. I am involved in politics. I was elected to the Westchester County Board of Legislators in 2019 for the first time. And truthfully, it's been a rewarding job. I currently serve as the chair of Budget and Appropriations for the Westchester County Board of Legislators. So I oversee a $2.2 billion budget, and there's been a lot of great work that we've done. The reason I'm getting involved in this race right now, there's a couple of reasons. One is, in truth, this isn't Elliot. This is the former number, and yes, a large part of this district has been
reorganized.
Exactly. Every 10 years we do a redistricting, and this is a new district. This new district is different in a lot of meaningful ways, and I feel this is an important time in our history. This is an important time in America. We have some real needs, and I was afraid that the representation we have now isn't what we isn't the direction of the party, isn't the direction of where our country is. I think in a time of need, we should come together, not split apart. And I would have taken a lot of votes differently than the current congressman. And I thought for that reason that it's important to run. So it's a new race, it's an exciting race, and it's a fast race. This is mostly a Democratic district. It's, I think, roughly 70-30 Democrat versus a Republican. So a Democrat's going to win this district, very likely anyway. So in that case, it's going to have to be the primary where the incumbent will be challenged. And that's why we're in this race now.
Okay, so the incumbent was not an incumbent. And without the support of the left part of the Democratic Party, talking about AOC, Alexandria Cortez, he would not be elected. He was only the principal of a high school. Nobody knew him other than his students, and he got elected, but I haven't heard his voice in the Congress for nothing other than raising his hand for the... do you think that is like a civil war between the two, the left of the party and the Democratic Party that is most centrist?
Well, I mean, I think I'll start by just pushing back a little bit. He was an educator. He was a principal. That's a member of the community, and I think that's experience. He wasn't elected to office before that, and I think my experience and his experience are very different. And I can go into that maybe later. He would represent what has been called in the media the squad, or some of the a portion of the party that is been voting together. So yeah, he's a squad member, and I am more of a Biden Democrat. He is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, and I am, I don't know if there's a proper name besides a Democrat, but a Democrat that likes to get things done. You know, I want actual progress rather than just ideological purity. And if, frankly, the Democratic Socialists are people that I disagree with quite often.
You have your own experience even in your native country in Kosovo. You stayed for some years, started as a short-term just involvement, and finished for a long term till Kosovo became independent. Tell about something about your experience there.
I was born in Kosovo, but moved to the United States when I was 4 years old with my family. So I was educated here in the United States, first in the Bronx and then Westchester County. And I'm a lawyer by training. My first job was was an internship with Judge Sonia Sotomayor in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals before she went to the Supreme Court. And after that job, a mentor of mine, it was his suggestion, not Albanian guy. He says, "You're from Kosovo, right? They're writing laws there. They're doing some interesting things. You might want to see." You know, if you can take part in that effort. And my family has always been activists. We've always cared about the cause of Kosovo, my father, my whole family. And so it was something that I know how good this country has been to me, how good America has been to me. And I know the privilege I've had to get educated and find success. And it was an opportunity for me to give back to Kosovo at that time, in a time when Kosovo really needed that help. I went there, my initial thought was 3 months. I ended up staying 5 years total. The joke was among the people there that I went to get married, find a and I did, but that was completely by mistake. I met my wife in Kosovo, but after Kosovo declared independence, I felt that my time was that I'd helped out, and that it was time for me to go back to the United States. And my wife and I, she was my fiance then, but my wife and I decided to move back to the United States and raise our family. While I was in Kosovo, I worked in I wrote a number of laws in a couple of different capacities, but in the end, my last job was through the United Nations Development Program. I was the chief legal advisor to the Prime Minister of Kosovo. That was initially Agim Ceku, and worked with a number of politicians there. And I remain in contact, not close, but because my engagements have been more in the United States now. But very proud of the work I did then. It was a historic time. And I was glad to have a small part in that.
How helped that experience in your later involvement in Westchester County politics, let's say?
I did student government before. I played sports. I was the captain of teams. I think leadership is leadership. I think government is government. You have to build consensus, and if you want to actually get something done, it takes listening and doing, and actually moving the ball along. And I always talk about, it's not enough to be right. It's not enough to have the correct answer. You also have to communicate that correct answer. And if you can't bring the other side with you, then you're not going to be successful. You're not going to get anything done. And I think the thing that I've seen consistently is from a child to the very first times where I've started working to now and abroad, the same core values are important. If you want to get something done, it takes a special, I think, leadership and skill set. Now, of course, now, especially with the events in Ukraine, recently the Democratic Socialists of America put out a statement trying to blame Ukraine and NATO for the aggression from Putin. And I think, obviously, from my time in Kosovo, from my experience there, I have an in-depth understanding of NATO that would make me disagree strongly with that impression. So I think it helps to know how to write a law. It helps to know how departments and government work. And now, as a Westchester County legislator, a lot of those same tools are useful now.
So as a Westchester County legislator, what bills or new laws you brought to improve the life of the ordinary people of Westchester? A lot of Albanians live there.
A lot of Albanians live there, and it's usually when I speak to the Albanian community, my biggest push is to ask that they register and that they vote. The Albanian community is large and engaged in a lot of different ways, but often not as engaged as they can in political life. I always say, vote against me, vote for me, vote however you want, but just vote. Make sure that the Albanians vote. I worked on a number of bills in my first term. This is now my second term. My first term, I was made chair of Public Works and Transportation, so infrastructure. We spent quite a lot of time to rebuild and rework our infrastructure, especially at a time like this. And this is before the Biden's bipartisan infrastructure bill. In Westchester County, we saw an opportunity because our infrastructure is aging and deteriorating, bond rates are low, and people need jobs. This is an opportunity to bring jobs here and to repair our infrastructure and be able to do it in a smart and efficient way. Now, we did that and I guess this is my third year. Every year I've been in office, we've been able to pass a tax cut for the county property taxes.
Tax cut?
Cut, yeah. Taxes have gone down.
Yeah, I understand, but is it not, especially for a Democrat to cut taxes, is not...
That's not I'm a Democrat, I'm a proud Democrat. But I'm also a small business owner. My family worked hard. I understand that there's a need for social benefits to the community. I think that's the way we judge ourselves, is how we treat the weakest parts of our community. But I also understand that that money comes from somebody's pocket. And I think our goal is to do the job of government, do it more efficiently, do it smarter, cut where we can. One of the things we did was we're working to transition to an electric fleet for the county vehicles, right? And that's saving us millions of dollars over years, just in terms of savings in fuel and repair. So there's, I think, a lot of nonsense out there, a lot of noise, but we try to shut that out. We don't pay attention to that. We pay attention to actually getting results, what makes sense. And I think there are opportunities to find efficiency, to find actual progress. And in a time like this, I frankly have been proud to be doing that.
Vedat, you mentioned that the Albanians do not vote. What is the source of this? This is neglect? This is because you are not organized totally in the American democracy? What's the source of that? I've seen that here in Michigan, I've seen in New York, I've seen all over the part. Now, when it is, for example, to help Kosovo, we give money for lobbying to different politicians in Congress or in Senate, but we should be evaluated for our vote. In the centers, when you are a majority of the Albanians.
A lot of Albanians do vote. There is Albanian activism, and actually, especially among the younger population, increased activity, registration. I think in the next decade, we're going to see a lot of Albanian candidates, a lot more than the few that we have now. I think in some instances it's disinformation. People think that if they register to vote, they're going to be called in for jury duty or some things that frankly aren't true. And for me, it's a frustration. I don't know what the answer is exactly. I don't know why, but I know how hard it was for me and my family to get our citizenship. And it's not only a responsibility of ours as citizens, it's a privilege, it's an honor. And for me, I would really like to get to a point where Albanians are registering more and voting more. Again, the number one, how can an Albanian help me? I always say register to vote, get involved, and then vote.
How can Albanians for other parts all over the states help you? That is with donations, because they are not your electors.
Yes, donations obviously help. These are elections are expensive, and if people can donate, that's a huge benefit. But not everybody can donate. So the people that cannot donate, if they can follow on social media, if they can promote, if they can help with the message, help spread the message, that's a great benefit for me. And I would say, if you live in Michigan, if you live in Texas, if you live wherever you live, register to vote. Register, vote, and get involved locally, because, and by the way, whatever party you want to be in, because that engagement builds on something else. And I think the engagement of the community, of people within their community, is how that community gets stronger. I've resisted a little bit the desire for some people to call me the Albanian candidate. I push back on that. I say, I'm not running as the Albanian candidate. I'm running as a representative of my community. And our community includes Albanians.
Yeah, that's true. That's the reality. You want to be a representative of all the community. That's
well, right, but also our community includes Albanians. I'm not a unique figure. I'm one of a larger group of people, and we care about our taxes. We care about our sewer. We care about the environment. We care about crime. We care about every other issue. And it's not my Albanian thought on this, but these are thoughts that are, I think, for voters. And I think the response has been great. I've been encouraged for every vote that's gotten registered. I hope to see a lot more. I see the potential of our community. I see the potential. I mean, I'm an example. Me and my family, we came as refugees. I was 4 years old. We were very poor. My family worked hard, though. We built a business, and we found that success. It's that American dream that still exists. And I know, and it's because of that potential. It's because of this great opportunity that we have that I get so excited about stuff like this. And I know we can reach it. I know we will reach it. Going to take a little bit of work to get there, though.
Okay, Vedat, I see some hats behind you. One of the hats has New York. So you live New York behind you. That now I want to ask you a problem. There is a problem, the rise of the crime in the New York City recently. What can be done?
I think people need to feel safe on the streets. I think there is, obviously with the pandemic, it's been a destabilizing thing in our community. There's also this fears about people's civil liberties being infringed. And I think both need to be paid attention to. But the most fundamental concern a lot of people have, and it's funny, when I go, especially in some of the areas, mine is a very mixed district. There's very wealthy parts, some of the wealthiest in the world, and some very poor parts, some people who are living, on the edge. And in the poorer parts, maybe because it's more a concern over there among everybody I speak to. They talk about the fear and crime, and I think the answer to that isn't easy. But we need to look at what are the causes. Sometimes, mental health questions, the way we're treating people after, what rehabilitation we're working, and how are we making sure that if someone poses a threat to their community, we can adequately address that. And sometimes it means more funding. I keep talking about I don't support defund the police.
Okay. You took my next question. So you don't support defund the police. Okay.
I don't. The funny thing is, again, as a Democrat, I can tell you, I promise you, there's not a Democrat that supports crime. There's zero Democrats that support crime. The question is, how do we address that? I think even defund the police is I was never a fan of it. I think maybe reform certainly needs to happen. We need to address a problem when it exists, but certainly not defund the police. And sometimes that means more resources to the police.
But the bail system in New York, the fact that they took out the bail system, and some of the Republicans and other part, they criticize the mayor of New York and other law enforcement institution for the fact that removing the bail, a criminal that makes a little crime today, tomorrow can kill somebody. So what is your opinion about this? Because you become member of Congress, you have to prepare bills also for law enforcement.
The law enforcement policing power is a state power, not a federal power. So for the most part, the federal power, the state, in terms of the state assembly, state senate, and the governor are going to be voting on bail reform and those sorts of issues. I can tell you on the federal level, there's a couple of different areas where we can get involved. And one was after the January 6th riots, there was a vote because the Capitol Police, obviously it was a difficult time, the Capitol Police requested emergency funding. And when they requested emergency funding, there was a bill, and the only people that voted for it were the Republicans and I want to say 4 congressmen, including Jamal Bowman. And Bowman's argument was, at a time like this, and I should get the exact quote, we don't need more funding for the police. Well, that's a situation where the police needed more funding, explicitly. It's an emergency request for funding. And it's, I think, the sort of problem you get to when you want ideological purity instead of progress. I've never been that way. I'd rather have actual progress, and I don't care where you're coming from with it. I just want the best answer to get there.
Do you have in yourself the bipartisan way of doing? So in the future, if you are part of the Congress?
I think so. I mean, in part because I think a lot of those labels are nonsense. You know, when a problem happens, I don't think what's the Democratic way to attack this or Republican way to attack it. I think about what's the problem and what's the best way to get that answer. In my own family, I have a lot of Republicans and Democrats. I always talk about if you're buying a house from somebody, you don't ask, wait, are you a Republican or a Democrat? You want to know what the best price is. You want the best home that you can get. I think a lot of the problems have been with the extreme parts of our party. When you go out there, you hear people talk. It would sound like everybody's only on the extremes, but most of the people, and me and my family, are way more closer to the middle. We want solutions. We want an answer. And the people on the edges might be the loudest, but they don't represent most of Americans. If you're able to speak to the person on the other party like they're your brother, because sometimes they are, you can get a solution. If you speak to them like they are the enemy, the devil, or whatever they want to say, then you're never going to get an answer because that person's mind is already made up. So I would avoid. I think clearly I'd be able to work with people in other parties, but also, frankly, within my party. As you mentioned earlier, there's a challenge within our party. There's a question about the Democratic Party. Where does the Democratic Party go? Is it the more Biden moderate Democrat, or is it a more Democratic socialist path? And I respectfully would think that it should be the Biden moderate path. I think that's got to be the future of the party because
the future for the better for the Democratic Party, the best also for the country. So in the middle, you can achieve something together with Republicans and others. So you are involved two times in the local elections and now in the battle for the Congress. So what do you tell educated Albanian Americans what they need to do to be involved more in the American politics?
It's really simple, and I've said it 3 times already probably. Vote, register, get involved. There is a large community, and unless they vote and get involved in politics, it's not as complicated or intimidating as you would think. You're not going to get those results. You're not going to get what's best for you. You're going to end up complaining on Facebook or social media, but you're not going to be able to get the actual answers and the support that we need as a community. And we, like every other community, have needs. There's a lot of immigrants. We're a lot of small business owners. We have needs that have to be served. And I think unless we get involved, unless we're voting, unless we're engaged politically, we're not going to find those results.
With that, I wish you all the best in the name of all our audience of the Albanians. Let's see you. I wish all the best, and we want you to win. We want Albanians to win. I had before you Eddie Agriu in similar interviews, and I wish him to win. I wish all the Albanians should be involved in politics in order we can have tomorrow our congressmen, our senators, in order the Albanians to be represented in the American politics.
I spoke to Eddie recently. I think he's a nice guy. I think, like I said, there's going to be a lot more candidates going in the future. I think as Albanians, a lot of the values that we have, we're hardworking. My parents made sure that we were educated, and we have family values. I talk about, actually, I didn't mention, my haircut is not my normal haircut. My brother was recently diagnosed with cancer, and he's going to have a full recovery, but he has to go through chemotherapy, and he started losing his hair. And when he started losing his hair, and there's 5 of us, well, 4 brothers, and actually we'll see him here, 4 brothers, and what we decided to do is in solidarity, we all shaved our heads.
Okay, that's why I was not recognizing you, because when I see the pictures, it was with hair. Okay.
Timing is not great, but we're close as a family.
Okay.
And
I'm very happy that your brother is beating cancer, and I wish you and all your family, all your great family, all the best for the better of the Albanian community, for the better of the Albanians here in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you again, hopefully with more hair.
I wish to. Okay, have a good day. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Good night.
Good night. Të dashur teleshikues të televizionit të shqiptarëve të Amerikës, ne këtu i dhamë fund emisionit ton Argument me të ftuarin ton për sot, zotin Vedat Gashi, i cili kandidon për zgjedhje brenda Partisë Demokrate në shtetin e New Yorkut për të zgjedhur si kandidat për në Kongres. Miru takofshim në emisionet tjera.